Hey there, restaurant pros. It's David Scott Peters, and welcome to Season 2 of the Restaurant Prosperity Formula podcast. For over 2 decades, I've been guiding restaurant owners to success with the proven principles of something I call the Restaurant Prosperity Formula. I originally created the formula based on the daily practices of the most successful restaurateurs I coached, and it's now the foundation of what I teach restaurant owners like you so you can achieve success. What do I mean by success? Success is a restaurant owner who dictates the terms of their life and their bank account instead of their restaurants dictating those things for them. Success is a restaurant owner who has freedom from their restaurant and the financial freedom they never thought possible. How you define success is up to you, but I know the way to achieve it is using the Restaurant Prosperity Formula. In Season 2, I'm diving even deeper into the core elements of the formula: leadership, systems, training, accountability, and taking action. Along with my insights, you'll hear from special guests, industry experts, and inspiring success stories from fellow restaurant owners who've turned their businesses around and found their definition of success. In episode 105, you'll learn one of the most crucial aspects of restaurant management: advanced food inventory management. I've got 5 specific tips I will be sharing with you. Take what you learned today and use it to elevate your restaurant and achieve the prosperity you've been working towards. Let's get started. But first, a word from our sponsor. We all know managing costs is one of the most important parts of running a profitable restaurant, especially now. But between fluctuating vendor prices, waste, labor, and the never-ending list of tasks that demand your attention on a daily basis, it can be challenging for even the most experienced of us to manage costs well. That's where Margin Edge comes in. Margin Edge is a complete restaurant management software that automatically uses data from your POS and invoices to show you food and labor costs in real time. Don't wait until it's too late. Margin Edge gives you tools to make decisions in the moment, like a daily P&L, price alerts on key ingredients, and real-time plate costs, all without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. Take control of your costs, work more efficiently, and be more profitable. Go to www.marginedge.com/DSP to learn more and schedule your demo today. Now, I know inventory can be a bit of a pain point for many of you, but trust me, mastering it can save you a ton of money and headache down the road. So let's get right into my top 5 advanced inventory management tips. Tip number 1, setting up shelf-to-sheet inventory. This is one of my favorites. This is a game changer, folks. The concept is simple. You align your inventory sheets the way your products are actually organized on the shelves. This means creating an inventory sheet that mirrors your storage areas. When you walk through your storage area, whether it's a walk-in cooler, freezer, dry storage, you name it, you can count items in the same order they appear on the sheet. It speeds up the process and reduces the chances of missing anything. Plus, it makes training new staff on inventory a whole lot easier because everything is organized logically. Here's the basic process to set it up. Empty your shelves, clean them, and then put them together, all the products in the order you always wanted them to be. Yeah, you might have tried this before and it might have failed, but I don't care. Do it anyway. Now, the next piece is to label them. And I don't care if you buy fancy, expensive labels or you just go type everything up, print it off, laminate it, cut every word out, and, well, put a single hole punch and a zip tie and put it on the rack so that you know that everything in the product, in the order it appears on the shelf, it's always put in the same place. This is crucial because we are trying to maintain that throughout the whole week, the whole month, you name it, that's where products go. Now, when you do that, you might be in your walk-in freezer and have McCain's potato wedges, well, up in the upper left-hand corner of the first Metro rack all the way up, and that's position 1. And on your sheet, it may say McCain's potato wedges, Cisco. It may say what the price is, and it's going to say case. That's the unit you want to count it as, and that's what it is on the shelf at any given time. Now, somewhere else you may have a reach-in freezer, and on the 6th position, you've got 5-pound bags because that's a 30-pound box, 6 5-pound bags, and I've got 5-pound bags in position 6 in the reach-in freezer. Another storage area might be on the line where I've got a drawer I pull out, and in the 2nd position are McCain's potato wedges loose, which I'm going to count by the ounce, but next to it is a batch recipe, which we'll talk about in a little bit, of McCain's potato wedges in 5-ounce portion bags. See, we're going to have the product as it appears on the shelf, will appear on my sheet, who I got it from, what it is, how I count it, and its price. This is critical because why? I don't have to have cooks do math and go, this is a case price, but we have 320 ounces on the shelf, and come up with thousands of dollars of shredded cheese because it's multiplying those ounces by a case price. We make it really easy for anybody to count. Now, before we move on, let me talk about one thing you need to do before this is really going to work for you. And that's setting up your inventory with the counting process in mind first. So I kind of talked about it in the sense of it's a 30-pound case, it's a 5-pound bag, it's a usage unit, it's a, batch recipe. Well, this is important. All too often people say, I'm going to set up my shelf to sheet, and it's taking me hours still. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you set this up, I have $2 million restaurants who are using software, take inventory in under an hour every Sunday night. Not 4 hours, not 3 hours, not this, oh my gosh. Quick, accurate. Well, here's the deal. If you set up shelf-to-sheet inventory and it's still taking you hours, odds are you are weighing everything. All catch weight meats, cheeses, you are taking any fluid ounce item and dumping it into a container to measuring device to know how many ounces and dumping it back and cleaning things. And it's a nightmare. What you're going to do is you're going to make sure that all the units of measure are done by units that are not just by pounds or ounces. So for instance, we'll talk about batch recipes in a moment, but if I store, say, pizza sauce in a 5-quart round, well, I'm always going to put 5 quarts in there. And so an inventory location could be 1, 2, 3, 4.5 5-quart rounds. Each one of those 5-quart rounds has a value. So I don't have to see it by volume. I can just count the units. I could have shredded cheese that I shred and I put in 5-pound bags. It's always 5 pounds. It's not 4.5. It's not 3.5. It's 5 pounds. And so when I go to the inventory location, because I have the value and I'm going to count it by the bag, I don't have to weigh each one of the bags. We stay standard. This will speed everything up. So we want to look at storage unit versus ounces on many things. Now, don't get me wrong. If I've got fillets, I can do those if I've got a great butchering process, count those. But for the most part, I'm probably going to weigh them. High dollar proteins, things like that, I'm still going to weigh for accuracy. Now, tip number 2. This is again the importance of batch recipe cards for accurate inventories. I alluded to it. Do know that if you do not have batch recipes done, your inventories are inaccurate because you're not counting all the product. So I alluded to it right in the last tip about the importance of these batch recipes. But having detailed batch recipe cards is essential. Batch recipes are recipes for ingredients that you produce in-house. These include soups, sauces, side dishes, dressing, desserts, any component to dishes like diced onions and carrot sticks. Anything you produce, you buy it from a vendor, bring it in, and make it something else. These cards should list all the ingredients used on the recipe, the quantities, and of course the yield of that recipe. This ensures accurate inventory counts, consistency in preparation, and helps track inventory usage accurately. When you know exactly how much each ingredient goes into a dish, you can also compare your ideal versus actual product usage we'll talk about later and spot any discrepancies quickly, which, again, we're going to talk about in a moment. It's all about having granular control over your food cost. Now, I'm going to tell you, on the inventory side of things, let me tell you how this ensures your food cost is accurate. It's going to have you avoid any phantom use. See, many restaurants calculate their food costs, purchases divided by sales. Well, I could have a month where I bought a lot of product and my sales were lower than expected, which gives me a 50% food cost. Yet I have so much food on the shelves that the next month I don't buy so much. And, well, I calculate my food cost based on purchases. I buy very little because I still had a ton on the shelf. And my sales go up. They're just insanely high. And I got a 10% cost of goods sold. Well, that's not either one of those food costs are right. It is based on use, which is beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending gives me use, what leaves the shelves, divided by gross sales gives me my food cost percentage. So if I have all these batch recipes, these items that I produce, and they're not on the inventory form, The calculations think they're gone, they're used, giving you a falsely high food cost. So batch recipes are critical if you want accurate inventories and accurate food cost. Tip number 3, calculating inventory turns and where they should be. What is an inventory turn? Inventory turn is a key metric that tells you how often you're using up and replenishing your inventory. To calculate it, you divide your cost of goods sold, that use line, what actually left the shelves, by your average inventory, which is your beginning inventory plus ending inventory divided by 2, because there's only 2 inventories for the same period of time. Ideally, you want a higher turnover rate, which means you're selling products quickly and keeping, your stock fresh. However, a turnover rate that's too high means you're running out of stock. You're 86ing items. You're missing opportunity. It's too efficient. You need to aim for a balance that keeps your inventory fresh, but not so high that you're constantly facing, stock outs. For most restaurants, I would say you're working towards an inventory turn of 3 to 4 in any calendar month. And for a breakfast place, you might be looking at as high as 6 to 8 because you're taking in a delivery of eggs darn near every day because they take up so much space in your coolers. Now, let me break that into when we start taking inventory. I want you to do it weekly. So you're looking at 1 to 1.5 turns a week. That means at any given time, you probably have about 3 to 4 days max of food on your shelves when you're at your lowest point, which means we're not trying to bring our inventory down so tight that you can't operate your business. But we don't want so much on the shelves that it's money at risk to be stolen, wasted, spoiled. You get the picture? Why would this simple calculation have such a dramatic effect on your food costs and inventory management? Well, I kind of allude to it. When we talk about inventory itself, if I put so much inventory on the shelves, I put myself in a position. And that position is what? What pays your bills, restaurant owner? Cash or profits? Cash. Cash is king. When we talk about profit margins or percentages, KPIs, things like that, those are great for managing. But the truth of the matter is, I can show you restaurants who, hit their food costs, but can't pay their bills because why? Their food costs, the use, what left the shelves, that's dead on. But because they over-ordered, they put $3,000 of food on the shelves to be at risk to be stolen, wasted, spoiled. And the last time I checked, I can't go to the power company with a case of steaks and go, thud, we're even. They want money. So it's not just about managing a food cost percentage, it's also managing the dollar value on the shelves. So when you understand that, this inventory turn calculation becomes so imperative. Oh, by the way, if I manage my inventory turns, I have better health scores because I have cleaner, more organized coolers and storage areas. I have faster, more accurate inventories because why? There's not so much on the shelves. Every Sunday when I take my inventories, there's so little on the shelves. It's so easy to see everything. Man, I fly through the process. Tip number 4. Oh, this is a big one. Ideal versus actual product usage reporting. I talked about that just a little bit ago. This is where you're comparing what your inventory usage should be based on the sales or your ideal usage versus your actual uses, what actually left the shelves. That means I got to have accurate, up-to-date recipe costing cards. I've got to have it tied to my point of sale system. I got to have software to calculate it. That based on the period of time between my 2 inventories, you can run a calculation that says, hey man, you should have used 350 pounds of chicken. But because we actually took inventories at beginning, ending, we had our purchases, it calculated our use, but it calculates the use by product. It says, hey man, we should have used the 250 pounds, if that's what I said. I know it was 250 pounds, but we actually used 300. Wait a second, we used 50 pounds more. See, now you can have a discussion with your chef or kitchen manager and you say your food cost is high and they go, oh, and you say, why? They go, I don't know. You can literally highlight lines and go fix these items. It is powerful. It's a great way to identify problems and waste, theft, and overportioning. By regularly running these reports, you can quickly pinpoint issues and take corrective actions. And that's the key, is find the problem and fix it. Not 15 days in the next period when you get a P&L, but today you see the problem the moment the inventory's been put in the software. It's a bit of upfront work, I'm not going to lie. It's a lot of work, actually. But the savings you'll see from reduced waste and tighter controls will make it well worth the effort. Again, this is an advanced control because why? There are so many pieces that need to be put in place before, well, you can get the most out of that report. But I'm going to tell you, the work is worth it. There's no better report to pinpoint where your menu and your kitchen practices are killing your food cost. So what are some of the things you need in place? Number one, you need software. I highly recommend my friends over at Margin Edge. And I want you to go to marginedge.com/DSP for David Scott Peters, because that's going to put you on a calendar to Bruce, who is a 30-year pro. He is just the best. Now, I'm going to tell you, when you go there, I don't get a kickback. I don't get any money from this. If you've been following me for any length of time, you've heard me talk about Margin Edge. It's just the right software. But I want you to talk to Bruce, because Bruce is going to take care of you. He is not a 20-year-old reading a script. He is somebody who's a 30, 35 plus year veteran in the industry, knows his shit. He's the guy to talk to. But I've got to have this software. And to set up software, I've got to have all my invoices. I take a picture of it, upload it to the cloud, have that all set up. I've got every invoice comes in, gives me all the tracking for my purchases by product. It sets me up for my food cost calculation. It sets me up for shelf-to-sheet inventory that I can easily manipulate or reorder items, put them in the different orders so that I take my inventory in under an hour and know my food cost in minutes after I type in the last number. So to make this happen, you've got a lot of work, plus the batch recipes that go into it. Again, I recommend marginedge.com/DSP. Set up a time with Bruce. Now, and finally, tip number 5, creating par levels based on the ratio of product usage or purchases divided by total gross sales for the same period. Setting up par levels is all about maintaining the right amount of stock without over or under ordering, by calculating the ratio for each product usage, or if I can, purchases against total cost of goods sold. If I don't have software to show me my usage, you can set up a more accurate par level. This helps you ensure you have enough stock to meet demand without, well, tying up too much cash in inventory. Again, what pays your bills, cash or profits? Cash. Cash is king. It's a balancing act. But with the right data, you can dial in on your par levels to optimize both cost and storage space. Now, what is the math? Well, you're going to need some information. You're going to need to grab all of your purchases for a certain period of time. How long ago? Well, if you change your menu 3 months ago, we're going to start 3 months ago. 6 months ago, I'm going to go as far back as I can to have the most data I can. You go to your vendors and you're going to say, hey man, if you can, give me a spreadsheet format of what I've purchased from you, and put it in a descending case report, what I purchased the most to the least. Okay. Now you also can get a descending dollar report. We can manipulate that. No problem. You're going to gather create a spreadsheet and gather all the invoices that were handwritten from your produce vendor, or you're going to if you go to Costco or Sam's Club or any of these things, you're going to need to create a spreadsheet for the same period of time for all the products. If you buy chicken from one vendor and another one, we're going to marry those into one line item. I don't care who I buy it from per se. I want to know that I bought chicken. Again, case is case, case is a case. Unless, of course, it is a different unit of measure, and we're going to have to change that to match the same one we put it on as a line item. Now, when I've got this data, I've got my gross sales for that time period. I've got all my purchases for that time period. I can do a lot of things. It starts off with, when I've got all my purchases, I'm going to have how many purchase units I purchased during that time period, 50 cases, 100 pounds, whatever it may be. I'm going to divide that into my gross food sales for that same period of time, and I come up with a usage ratio. Again, that's purchases divided by actual category sales or food sales for this example. When it comes to projecting my par levels, I take the usage. Remember, beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending gives me use, what leaves the shelves. I'm going to take that usage number, right, what I've got, and to divide it by my forecasted sales by category, food sales. Now, if I can use that usage, what I used in that report, or in this case, purchases. So let me kind of backtrack. That usage number, that can only come from software. The purchase number, that can come from the spreadsheet that you create. Either one will work. Obviously, usage will be more accurate. But let's say we only have purchases. We're going to take our usage ratio and we're going to go look at our forecasted sales. So we need to know what we're going to do between our next two inventories and sales. And we're going to take that usage ratio times forecasted sales, and we're going to come up with a par level. It's pretty simple. It's kind of like this. I used so many cases of French fries or purchased them during a time frame. And when I divide that by my actual food sales, I come up with a ratio of 0.00063. I know I'm going into a $60,000 weekend, and that order needs to have, well, I take that ratio times forecasted sales. I come up with, say, 6 cases. Now that math is not accurate. I'm just making that up in my head, but you get the picture. It means that, let's say you were to lose your Kitchen Pro for good or bad reasons. And you're like, oh my God, nobody knows how to order. If you gather this data, I can order from my office here in Arizona, and you could be anywhere in the world, and I could order better than any one of your chefs or kitchen managers if I have this data, as long as somebody can count accurately. This is really powerful. Now I'll tell you, I do not have many members who get this deep into inventory management, and I've got some people who are kicking ass. But for those who do, they not only take full control of their inventory, but they also foolproof their ordering system, where if you can count, you can order accurately. It's a game changer. There you have it. My top 5 advanced inventory management tips. Implementing these strategies can significantly improve your inventory accuracy, reduce waste, and ultimately boost your bottom line. Remember, it's all about having the right systems in place and training your team to follow them. Thanks for tuning into the Restaurant Prosperity Formula podcast. Until next time, keep working on your business, not just in it. Ready to take the next step towards achieving restaurant prosperity, freedom from the daily grind, and the financial success you deserve? Book a discovery call with Ryan James to learn about our group coaching program. Ryan will guide you through how our program can transform your restaurant and help you achieve the prosperity and freedom you've been striving for. Click the link in the description below or visit dsp.coach/talk-to-Ryan to schedule your call now.